some familiar names. So welcome all, and thanks for joining our presentation today. This webinar is an introduction to PMP exam preparation. PMP, as you probably know, stands for Project Management Professional and is run by a globally recognized organization, which we will hear a bit more about during the course of the presentation. Before we get into the presentation, a few words about myself and our organization. For those who don't know me, my name is Peter Makiewicz. I'm a partner with East West Consultings and head up our claims management services. I have over 30 years industry experience, with nearly half that time spent in the UAE. I'm a dual degree holder in quantity surveying and construction law, and I'm a member of the AIQS and Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. As for East West Consultings, we recently opened a new branch in Dubai to serve the GCC region, and we originate from North America with headquarters and support from Canada. We're a multidisciplinary consulting firm and a leading provider of project management services with particular focus on contract, commercial and claims management. We also provide educational services that aim to share our combined knowledge from our experiences and qualifications to benefit practitioners and students alike. This webinar is part of that service. We also offer a number of other courses, and you can view these on our website. Before we jump into the presentation, just a little bit of housekeeping. Your mics should all be on mute, which will help with the audio. But if you do have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in the Teams control panel. I'll bring these up during the presentation as appropriate. We should also have some time for questions at the end. So that just leaves me to welcome our main presenter, Yaman Badawi, to the microphone. And I would ask you, Yaman, to introduce and tell us a bit about yourself, and we will continue on from then. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. I appreciate the introduction, and it is great to be speaking with you all. Just to give you a brief about myself for all the audience who don't know me, my name is Yaman Badawi. I hold both a bachelor and a master degree in civil engineering, and then I managed to obtain another master degree in construction law from the British University in Dubai. My professional certification background goes from 2009, where I got my first professional degree in as a lead GA. Then I moved forward and I started getting other certifications such as the STDAMA BQP, which is a sustainability code here in UAE, similar to the lead GA. Then I moved forward and I obtained a PMP certificate in 2014, and I started teaching or training PMP 1 year afterward, and I've been training PMP ever since. I also managed to get the PSP certification, which stands for Planning and Scheduling Professional. I've also got the CCP certification, which is Certified Cost Professional, and in 2018, I've obtained a certification called CCM, which stands for Certified Construction Manager. It's similar to PMP, but it's specialized in the area of construction. Now, my experience as working experience, and aside from professional training that I usually offer, I work in construction industry. I've been working since 2010. I started on site, then I moved to the area of planning and scheduling. I also handled cost control tasks, EOT claims, and I have been involved in various commercial management tasks. Now, in brief and nutshell, this is my background, and that's it. That sums it all.
That's great, Yaman. Thank you very much for that introduction. So tell me, Yaman, could you tell us why someone should get certified in project management?
Well, that is the main question for the day. Why should I get certified as a PMP or as a project manager in general? Well, there are multiple reasons here. I can group it in under four main reasons. The first one is PMP give you a knowledge and proof of competence. It's a certificate that has a high weight in the industry in the area of project management. It has been there since 1981, and basically the weight in the area of project management for that certificate is high. Now, the second reason that I can think of why getting certified as a project manager or as a PMP is that the certificate itself has an international recognition. It's not limited to a certain area or a certain country. No, it is known worldwide. So basically, you've worked in UAE and now you want to move to somewhere else. That the certificate of PMP give you that kind of cross-border proof of knowledge. Now, the third reason that I can think of also why should you start your journey in PMP is because PMP itself, the certification ensures that you have a continuous professional growth. How so, you may ask? Now, this certificate is not being granted to you indefinitely. You have to renew it every 3 years after you pass, hopefully, from the first attempt in the exam. Now, in order to be able to renew it every 3 years, you have to bring to the credential committee a proof of continuous or a continual knowledge or involvement in the industry. A training that you might have attended, a seminar that you have been involved with, a training that you might have given also. These proofs, they are accumulated to a number of hours. These number of hours, they call them PDUs or professional development units. You have to represent 60 PDUs in order to be able to renew your certificate for 3 years. So basically, they have this kind of system to ensure that you are continuously in touch with the industry and the recent practices. Now, the fourth reason, and this is basically why anyone should go for that particular certificate, is basically PMP gives you a higher job security and career advancement. Now, in a survey, and there are many publications, if you join now the PMI Society, you would know that PMI actually ask you to participate in multiple surveys, and then they publish their results periodically. Now, in one of their surveys, they have asked around 30,000 professionals around the globe. From UAE here, the place where I'm actually presenting from, there were 474 participants who responded that they have, out of those 474, 71% of them responded that they have got an increase in their salary after achieving the PMI certification. So you want to be a project manager, and this is a new experience. The first thing you should keep in mind that, I want to start on the right path. I should not start randomly, like, well, whenever I can, be part of project management practices, I will be there. No, you should start in the right path. And starting with the PMP certification is the correct step to take in order to be on the right path of being certified as a project management professional. Now, I keep saying PMI, and PMP. So let me give you also a little bit of abbreviation explanation here. PMI stands for Project Management Institute. This is an institute in the US. This is an institute that provides credential or basically certification for the people who are aspirants to go for the certification. This is a non-profitable organization that started in 1984. Now, this is something that goes around in the society of PMI, and it's kind of, people joke around it a lot. They have also, the PMI certification, the PMI society have undergone certain development in their logo itself, at least. So they started with this logo, the one you can see over here. And now they have developed to become, looks like that. Honestly, Peter, which one you think looks better?
I prefer the original personally, Yaman.
I prefer the original person. I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't have that artistic view. Some people are preferring the new logo because it's kind of, each symbol in that logo represents something in the area of project management. But I prefer the old logo more. It's more unified in terms of coloring. It looks more decent. But anyhow, now this is the logo that you will get on your certification, hopefully when you pass the exam the first time. Now, why should I choose among? There are many other certifications in the industry and worldwide. There are many other certifications that are being offered to certify you as a PMP, as a project management professional, other than the PMP itself. So why should I choose PMP? Why should I not go for other certification? Well, first of all, PMP and the PMI, Project Management Institute, is globally recognized. You might say, okay, there are other certifications that are globally recognized. Yes, true. But PMI has the advantage of being there the longest. They have been there since 1981. That gives them, one, a global reach. Everybody knows them, and it gives them higher weight in the industry. And accordingly, it will be a higher weight on your CV in terms of a career profile. Also, PMI, apart from that, apart from the job security, it gives you a technical and financial edge because they continuously develop their material, and they ask even people who participate in the exam to be part of the development of the material, which I'm going to explain later on in today's webinar. So if you will ask me, I'll say yes, among all the other certificates, and since 2014 until now, I've been involved in many trainings. I would definitely recommend PMP for the project management, at least, other than other certificates. Now, the Institute offers other certification other than the PMP. It's not only PMP, there are other certification. If you are still at the beginning of your career, you have not acquired the required number of experience, you may go for the more simplified version of project management. They call it CAPM. If you have the sufficient number of years of experience, and we'll explain that later on, then you can go for PMP type. What if I achieve PMP? What else the PMI can offer? There are multiple other certification. I just highlight a couple of them. There is PGMP, which stands for Program Management Professional. There is PFMP, which stands for Portfolio Management Professional. There is a certification in the new area of practice that are receiving a lot of high attention nowadays. It's called the Agile. This certification stands for Agile Certified Practitioner, or what can be abbreviated as ACP. There is other certification in other areas such as risk management and scheduling management that are being offered by the PMI. These are pretty much, Peter, the certifications that are being offered by the PMI. There are others, but these are the ones that people are currently tackling. Okay, so this is to brief you out about the institute and the PMP.
That's excellent, Yaman. Thank you very much for that explanation. So what do you recommend moving forward?
Okay. Yes, good question. Now, you are in the area of project management. I would definitely recommend to start with PMP. Now, after that, should I go for anything else in the PMI that offers? Well, if you are in the area of general project management, I would definitely recommend you to start looking for the PGMP certificate. Now, I'll give you a little bit of statistics here. Why PMP is very important to start with it and then go for PGMP. PMP, there are currently now, the PMI used to publish their statistics frequently for the number of worldwide certified professional in PMP. They stopped doing so recently, but the latest statistic I have read was in June 2021, and there were over 1 million number of certified professionals. So it's becoming like more or less like a project requirement now. So you have to take this certification. It is that much important. Now, after that, what should I do? Well, if you are developing yourself in area of project management, you must be looking for not managing only one project at a time, multiple projects, which is basically this is where you are going to the bigger scale. This is the concern of the certificate called PGMP. PGMP stands for Program Management Professional. Program means multiple projects that are interdependent or correlated and managed in a coordinated way. So this is basically the bigger umbrella here. So I'm not going to be involved in managing one project at a time. It will be a multiple project. So definitely that certificate will give you the technical edge and knowledge that will allow you to do this so successfully. What else then? I would say go for the bigger scale, which is basically merging multiple projects that are not necessarily correlated. So different geographic location, they are located in different geographic location, or they don't have any element of similarity between them. This is what we place usually under a bigger umbrella. We call it the portfolio. And this is the concern of the portfolio management professional certification that is being offered by the PMI. So definitely in the area of general project management, I would recommend these three certificates to be considered. Again, a little bit of statistics about PGMP. There are not more than 3,200 people certified worldwide. So also you will be that unique if you receive the PGMP certification. PFMP, it's even less. You are talking about 1,040, not more. So basically, you will have that element of uniqueness apart from the technical edge that this certification will give you. Now, is there other certifications that you will be recommending? Yes, I would definitely recommend to start looking, especially if you are in the area of IT management, not necessarily construction, in the area of IT management, and also for people working in construction, because this is an area that is receiving a lot of high attention, you can say. It's the area of agile management, or what's stands here as agile certified practitioner. Would you recommend the other certification that is being offered by the PMI, namely risk management professional and schedule management professional? I'll answer scheduling professional. I will honestly say no. I would recommend other certification offered by other institute, especially for the area of scheduling and cost control. I would recommend the certificate that is being offered by AACEI. Why are you recommending for these certifications, for these two particular certificates, other institute? Well, for the same reason why I'm recommending PMP, because in these particular specialties, I would say, these certificates have been there in the industry for longer time. So they have a higher and bigger literature, and they have higher credit in this area of specialty. There are other certifications that you should consider as a construction professional, as a person who is in the area of construction. If you are in the area of construction, something like the MREX and the ACIR, I would definitely put some high emphasis on them to be considered for your journey in the certification after, of course, achieving the PMP. Now, let me also brief you about the exam procedure since we opened that topic. Let me brief you a little bit about the exam procedure. How should I apply, whether I'm eligible or not, what kind of question that you may get in the exam. Some people talk a lot, it's an exam that is hard, like I have retaken the exam 3 times, I was not able to be successful. Would I be facing the same situation? Well, let's touch upon this issue. Now, in terms of eligibility for the exam, it's not necessary for you, and this is something that everybody should be aware of. It's not necessary for you to hold a university degree. You can still apply for the exam even if you don't have a bachelor degree. However, you need to represent with your application a certain number of years of experience in order to be eligible for the exam. So if I don't have a university degree, what should I do? Well, you need to represent what's around 60 months of experience, which is equivalent to 5 years of experience in the area of in one of the areas of project management, along with a course of at least 35 contact hours. What if I have a university degree? You definitely can apply, and here the requirement of the years of experience becomes less. So basically, they reduce it for you because you have been through a university degree of 4 years. So they put a lesser years of experience to be represented in order to accept your application. The total number of years of experience here becomes 3 years, or what's equivalent to 36 months. You have a postgraduate degree, again, they reduce the number of years of experience. So it becomes 2 years, or what is equivalent to 24 months. And most importantly, when you are writing these 2 years or 3 years or 5 years of experience, it should be non-overlapping. So if it's an overlapping years of experience, it will be only counted once. So let's assume you have a project number 1 you have worked on from this point in time until this point in time, and then you have project 2. So here you have this period over here. You have this period over here that is overlapping when you are representing the number of years of experience. This period is overlapping. It will be only counted once in your experience. And this is where people actually make a mistake when they are applying. They say, oh yeah, I worked on many projects and the total of the number of years or the number of months in these projects is much more than the requirement. Still, the application is not being passed because, you know, it's showing me that I don't meet the requirement. Well, probably because you are overlapping your experience. Probably this is one of the reasons that might be there why your application is not being processed. So just keep that in mind when you are applying. Now, what's the timeline for the PMP application? Well, if you go to the PMI website, it's www.pmi.org. You can open application at any point in time after you create an account. Once you open that application, you have 90 days to complete the application. Okay, so the application will stay open for 90 days for you. No, they will not close it. Once you press submit, the evaluation process starts. So it takes them between 5 business days or less. It's not necessarily 5 business days. Sometimes they reply on the next day. Sometimes they reply in the next hour, okay, to evaluate your application. Now, if they find your application and the number of hours and the way you explained your experience all make sense, then they tell you proceed to schedule the exam. If they suspect something, they will either contact you, they will tell you adjust the application, or they will ask you to go to the audit process. Okay, so you need to certify this experience and send it to them. Now, once they tell you your application is accepted, you now can schedule an exam. You have 1 year of eligibility to schedule an exam, and you can take that exam during this year 3 times, up to 3 times. And it will be perfectly normal. They will not tell you, oh, if you did not pass. Hopefully, you will pass from the first time, of course. But if you did not, in the unfortunate case, you did not pass from the first time, you still can repeat the exam twice. Okay. So this is what we covered in the application guidelines and you know, the time frames. It sums it all. It sums the exam. The basically what's the exam registration procedure is all about. Right. Okay.
This sounds very interesting, Yaman. Can you tell us a bit more about the exams?
Okay, so the exam itself is composed of 180 questions, and this is in its latest version. Before, it used to be 200 questions. In the earlier version of the exam, it used to be 200 questions. And here where the part, this is where I said they use even the people who are applying to the exam to develop the exam. And I'll explain how. In these, out of these 180 questions you have in the exam, not all of them are graded. You have 175 questions that are marked, that are graded, and 5 questions, we call them pre-test. What are these pre-test questions? They are ungraded questions. They put it randomly. They don't tell you which question is a pre-test, which question is not. And they tackle in these questions area and project management that are recent or under, you can say under development, and they take your unbiased opinion because you are taking the exam. So you must be thinking of the answer to those questions very well and very carefully. So they take your opinion in those questions and they utilize it in order to develop the material. Now, am I going to be able, as I said, am I going to be able to identify these pre-test questions? No, they don't tell you which question is a pre-test, which question is not. So how much time do I have in order to answer this question? You have a total of 230 minutes, which is equivalent to 3 hours and 50 minutes. During those 3 hours and 50 minutes, you have 2 breaks. Each break is 10 minutes of duration. The first break will appear to you after you complete answering the first 60 questions and you review them and you press submit. You will go to that break of 10 minutes, then you come back. You can do whatever you want. I mean, it's not necessary you stay on your seat. Okay, recommended to stay in the same location, especially if it's a monitor, it's an online exam. Now, once you come back, you answer the next 60 questions for a total of 102 questions. You review them, you press submit, and then you can go to your next break. It's important here to know that once you have reviewed and submitted the question, you are not allowed to go back to them. So the first 60 questions, that's it. Once you answer and review them, they are gone. You cannot go back to them. The second 60 questions, again, once you answer them and you review them, they are gone. You are not allowed to them. Then after the second break, you have the remaining 60 questions to answer, and to submit your exam. After you submit your exam, they will ask you to fill a survey, like to rate your experience in the exam, and that's it. The result should appear immediately afterward. They don't give you the certificate immediately. Sometimes they take 48 hours, but the result, whether you have passed or failed and how you have done in each area of each of the areas of the exam, will appear immediately once you finish the exam and finish the survey. The questions are of multiple choice. Some of the questions of multiple response. We will see an example of this question later on. Now, what's the grade of passing the exam if we just look at it from high school or university perspective? So how much do I need to score in order to pass the exam? Well, there is no, in fact, there is no specific passing grade in the exam, because the system there is that depending on the question, each question will have its own weight. However, on average, you need to score around 61% of the question correctly in order to pass the exam, which is an equivalent of 106 questions out of the 175 questions that are graded in order to pass the exam. And this is not, like if you look at it, 60%, it's not a difficult. If I'm well prepared, I should be able to pass it from the first attempt.
Okay.
Right.
And in terms of questions, what are we likely to expect?
This is an interesting part where a lot of people ask me about it. Now, there are different formats of questions in the exam. You may have situational questions. You may have questions with 2 or more right answer. You may have questions with extra information. Something like, of course, I'm just giving you a similar type of question. So basically, you are driving from the city of Al Ain to the city of Abu Dhabi at a speed of 140 kilometers. You started at 9 a.m. and then you expect the question will be when you will reach. No, the question will be what's the name of the driver? Something that has nothing to do with all the information that has been represented. Now, why they represented? Well, to test you out how you quickly read and how you carefully examine all the information that have been represented in that question. And no joking, there are some questions with that amount of extra information. Of course, not in that scenario, but there are some questions with that extra amount of information. You have a question using made-up terms. You have questions, and this is the new emphasis of the exam, question where understanding is crucial and very important. You have questions with new approaches. You have questions with more than one item in each choice, and you have questions with excessively wordy syntax. All of these questions are available in the exam, and you might be subject to them. It's, by the way, this is where the course and the training becomes very important for the last type of question and for the number 5. Some people take these trainings in the sense that, oh, okay, I will memorize everything and then I will go to the exam. Well, no, the new approach of the PMP is focusing on understanding now more. So you will not be, okay, reading the book without understanding it and solving many questions may help you in the exam, but understanding now is becoming more important. So you may have a question where the scenario is a bit new, but the information that you have been taught in the PMBOK and in the exam content outline, which we'll explain later on, will be the key for you to solve these type of questions. Now, just let me give you an example of the scenarios that the exam might represent to you, and it might appear to you in the exam. So this is one sample of the format of the question. They are asking you about the processes. By the way, this is maybe in the next year. It's likely like the exam might develop a different process groups. But for the time being, this is the process that is being adopted by the exam. So they will ask you the process name and match it with the process group that is related to it. So identify stakeholder. You have to take that particular answer and put it in the corresponding box. Well, if you take the course, you would know that identify stakeholder will go under initiation, and then monitor the engagement will go under monitoring and control, and manage engagement in the execution, etc. So they will ask you to match or to take one answer and put it in the corresponding post. Okay. So this is one format of the question. There is another format of the question where they represent for you a graph, and they will ask you what each area of that graph means. So basically here, area number A or section or Point A, what does it represent in the graph? If this is a cash flow graph. B, what does it represent on the graph? Point C and point D, etc. This is also a new type of questions that are being represented in the exam. They will give you a table and they will ask you to fill the remaining portion of that table. They will ask you to fill it, of course, from multiple choice, answers that they will ask you to take it and insert it in the table itself. By the way, in the earlier version of the exam, all of these were not there. It's only a multiple choice question. Now, these new formats are appearing, especially after January 2021. So this is where the understanding is very important. You will not have a standard format of the question. You have to understand the material very well. You have to, train for the exam very well in order to be able to answer these questions properly and pass from the first time. Now, what are the references that I should consider when I study for the exam? The first reference, and unlike what many people know, is not the PMBOK. It's actually the exam content outline, which is offered on the PMI website. You can download it. You can see it. I will just give you a screenshots from that manual. The second and the third reference, equivalently, basically equally important, is the Agile Practice Guide and the Project Management Body of Knowledge. Okay, so these are the main references for the study of the exam. Of course, there are other references for practicing the questions, which a standard PMP course should be sharing with you and should be giving you a big list of questions also in order for you to practice before going to the exam. But as a source of knowledge, these are the main three references that you need to consider going through thoroughly before going to the exam. Now, let's just take a deeper look on the first reference, which is the exam content outline. The exam content outline is divided into three domains. The first domain, they call it people domain. The second domain, they call it the process domain. And the third domain, they call it the business domain. Now, inside the book, if you open the PMBOK, you will find that there are a number of processes. The inputs and the output of each of the process interact with each other in order to manage the project in an integrated manner. Now, this exam content outline classify these processes under these three domains. And they tell you for these processes that are, let's say, under the first domain, the project manager is expected to do the following tasks. The processes under the second domain, the project manager is expected to do the following tasks. The third domain, also the project manager is expected to do the following tasks. You should know these tasks before going to the exam. You should know it, I would not say by heart, but you should fully understand it before going to the exam. Now, the percentage of the number of questions that you should expect under each of the domain is mentioned in the exam content outline as follows. So 42% under the first domain, 50% under second domain, and 8% under the third domain. However, this is not a strict formula. It's not necessary that you receive the same amount of percentages or the same number of questions under each of the domains. It's not necessary going to happen. You may receive more number of questions about the processes related to people domain rather than the processes rather than the material under the process domain. The general format of the question focus on two types of life cycle for the project. The first one, we call it the predictive life cycle, which is the standard life cycle of the project. You have a clear defined scope, you have a detailed plan, and you manage that plan and you monitor and control that plan along the way of the project. There are a new type of projects, we call them the agile, where flexibility and adaptation to the changing environment is very critical because you don't have a detailed plan or a detailed steps or scope of work from the beginning of the project. So we have this one type of life cycle and we have the other. In the earlier version of the exam, the focus was mainly on the standard approach or the predictive approach. Currently, in this particular version of the exam, they focus equally on both with a little bit higher emphasis on the agile. And sometimes you will have questions that are mixed between the predictive life cycle and the agile life cycle. We call these life cycle the hybrid approach. Now, again, let's dig deeper into the exam content outline. You will find it structured in this manner. So basically, the first domain, which is the people domain, There are a number of processes under them. And with these processes, as a project manager, you are expected to do the following task. And this is how, if you open the book, it's again available online for free for everyone. You will find these tasks. So task number 1, as a project manager, you are expected to be able to manage the conflict during your project by interpreting the source and the stage of the conflict, analyze the context for the conflict, and evaluate and recommend and reconcile the appropriate conflict resolution mechanism. Task number 2, lead a team, and so on. So basically, this is how this exam content outline, and you need to know among or between these tasks, what are the processes that will help you out achieve the outcome of that task. So the first source of your study, as I said, will be the exam content outline. It will not be the PMBOK. The PMBOK is a supportive or a supplement material that will explain thoroughly these tasks. Okay. The question that everybody asks in the internet, and I find a lot of people arguing about it, and I found a lot of trainings and a lot of material also still debating this one. Now, in 2001, just to give you a little bit of timeline of how the exam developed and how it changed and what will be the reference. In 2021, January 2021 in particular, the PMI issued this exam content outline that I have just represented. And they said the reference for that exam content outline will be the PMBOK 6th edition. Later on, and in more precisely in August 2022, they issued a new version of the project management body of knowledge. They call it the 7th edition. This is in August 2021. Okay. Now, structure of the 7th edition is a bit different. So instead of having the knowledge area and the project management body of knowledge, the 6th edition, they have a different structure in the 7th edition. So people are asking, should I study from this or should I study from that? Well, the answer for this dilemma is that first, you should study from the exam content outline. The PMBOK, again, as we said, is supplements. It's not the main study material. Second of all, the information itself, it's being categorized under a different group between the 6th edition and the 7th edition. But the information itself is pretty much similar. It's still not changed. It's just being reorganized in the majority part. The third thing that you should put in mind is that the PMI itself, upon their clarification, they said we will not be adding new items to the exam before rigorous and thorough review and test field cycle. So for the time being, and at least for the next 1 year, the material that you will be using in order to more explain the exam content outline will be the PMBOK 6th edition, not the 7th edition, until the time being. Okay, and at least not for the next 1 year, not before the next 1 year. So this is pretty much it about the exam, about the material, about the exam procedure. I hope it was a good explanation. I think we can take some questions by now.
Thanks very much, Yaman. That's great. Just to remind everyone, if you do have any questions, please type these into the chat box. Also, Yaman, do you plan to give courses on other topics?
All right. Well, for the time being, the current topic in hand, which is the PMP, after discussion with you, we are planning to start a course on 12th of March 2022. It will be a complete live course. It's not a recorded course. It will be a complete live course of 40 hours. There is an interactive training. There is a complete explanation. There will be a real life example. There will be an open discussion. I'll give an exercise material. And there will be a sample exam that will be provided by the end of the training. Again, the session will be recorded. This is the original plan. The session will be recorded and it will be uploaded on the portal so that you will be able to refer to it whenever you like. Basically, if something you want to review, you will be able to refer to the recorded version of the seminar. However, the delivery method will be live. So I'll be there, I'll be explaining, and you can ask the question lively, and the answer will be given also on the spot. You can register through the current link, the below link, and I believe you will be contacted once you register for the exam in order to give you the further information once it becomes available. Now, this is for the PMP. Other trainings that we are planning to do, we are planning to have the planning and scheduling professional training. We are planning to have the certified course professional training. There is a plan for contract management training as well, and there is a plan for MREX as far as have been discussed. I hope I answered the question.
Thank you very much, Yaman. I'm just waiting for any questions. If anybody has any questions, please type them in the chat box if there are any.
Okay, I believe we have a question.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Anand. So Anand asks, now that PMP is moving more towards agile than the conventional process, how well does agile practice suited for construction industry?
Yeah, that's a question that almost every construction professional has in mind, especially the ones that are going for PMP, because Agile, if you look at the background of Agile, the Agile started in 2000. The manifesto of the Agile itself started in after 2000, after the year 2000. If I remember correctly, it was 2001. I need to review the date in particular. And it started by IT professionals. It did not start by construction industry professional. It started by IT professional, and they adopted mechanisms to manage the projects that have no defined scope of work at the beginning. Now, in the construction industry, at least in the 90% or 99% of the project, this is not the case. You have a high definition, a detailed definition from the beginning. You have to submit a detailed program also from the beginning. You have to submit other detailed plan, quality plan from the beginning. So this is a question that most of the construction professionals ask. Well, how am I going to use the agile mechanism? Well, it works in a way that allows a lot of changes. It allows, it adapts for the changes where this is not suitable for the construction industry. Yes, some of that point is valid for the agile part. Some of that point is valid. Yes, it's not suited for the it's not suited for the construction professional as a practice, but as a mindset, it is suitable. So basically, agile adapts mindset where there are changes, which is the reality of life. There are changes, and how to handle them. It proposes a certain approaches, general approaches, and a detailed approaches to handle them. The general approaches, yes, they are suited in construction, and in fact, we have I have personally been involved in some of those approaches in a construction project, where we have used something we refer to as sprint planning. So basically, you define a detailed plan for the short term, and then that detailed plan gets elaborated for the long term. So this is something that I have personally been involved in the construction industry, and it worked fine, and it was an excellent tool to improve the productivity in the project. So yes, it is valid, but it should become more applicable in the coming years. So now there is a little bit of minor focus on it in the construction industry, the agile approach, but there is a high expectation that this approach will be receiving higher attention in the coming years. Thanks, Wissam, for your feedback, for your recommendation.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yaman, for that explanation. That was great. I think you saw Wissam's comment. Yeah. He did also ask a question: what PMP added to you to gain such competency? I don't know if you can recall your personal experiences, Yaman.
Yeah, I worked actually with Wissam. That's why I'm thanking him, and I was I want to congratulate him. He became also PMP certified. Basically, well, first of all, like being a civil engineer, being from the like having a degree of civil engineering, the way the course are taught, it's more of in a technical manner. So basically, how to design a structure, how to design concrete, how to design. The managerial aspects of the construction is not being touched upon that much. It's being touched upon in one or barely two courses. I have a very great instructor who explained it very well. But still, I mean, when you go to the construction industry, things are a little bit different. You need something that is more related to the actual practices in the professional construction management environment. And this is where the PMP played a very crucial role. All my technical knowledge started, all my basically technical civil engineering knowledge started becoming of, I would not say less importance, but no importance, but I would say less importance compared to the knowledge I have gained from the PMP and similar courses in the area of management. So, because most of our work in the construction is basically managerial rather than actually, doing the things technically. So yeah, it became of very high value. It's actually put me on the path of the management path that I started in 2014, and I'm continuing until today. Cost control, it gave me it gave me a very good ground in procurement management and risk management. All of these things that I was totally oblivion to it before the PMP. Honestly speaking, though I have been touching upon it in certain courses in the university, but I was totally oblivion to it for the PMP. PMP actually introduced me to those areas, and it kept me also, since I was giving the training, kept me also continuously updated.
Fantastic, Yaman. Thanks again. We have a question from Raja. He asks, how difficult is the PMP examination? I think that's probably
okay.
a little bit subjective, but
yes,
yeah.
exactly. Yes, exactly. It depends on your preparation. It's not an exam that you will be able to pass without preparation. I can assure you that you have to be well prepared. And preparation here, it's of two parts: reading and knowing the material, and understanding it, as I was explaining in the seminar. I mean, understanding now is becoming important. Now the question is not from one box or from question bank where you can pick and just answer. I memorize the answer, so it will come in the exam, and I will answer it right away. No, there will be a level of understanding. So it depends on your preparation. So I would strongly recommend you to take a preparatory course for the PMP. And by the way, just this is a general advice. Whether you decided to take a course here or somewhere else, I mean, it's like you choose. Check the caliber of the trainer himself, the one who's giving the training. In the industry, a lot of people claim to be giving a PMP training just because they are PMP certified. Trust me, if you are, especially in the area of construction, if you have no real life experience managing the different area of projects, you will not be the most suitable person to give that training. Okay. So check the caliber, check the profile of the person who's giving you the training. How much, at least how many years he have been giving trainings? What's his involvement in real life projects and in project management? What was his, background? Whether he worked in a very complicated area of practices or not? Just check that before taking any training. And I would recommend take the training, of course, that will be offered soon in both of March, if you are interested in the area of project.
Excellent. Thanks again, Yaman.
Sorry. Also, I want to add one thing, and I'm not trying to since 2014, I'm teaching this course, and a lot of feedback that I receive from students, especially for the part of whether it's hard or easy, is that training make a lot of big difference, even for the studying part, because it summarizes the area where you need to focus on. And that's why I have a very, in terms of my students, I have a very high success rate. I mean, if you just, we can share some of the statement later on after the seminar, but training is a key to pass the exam in a nutshell.
Okay, great. Thanks again, Yaman. We're running short of time, but we've got a couple more questions. If you can just maybe give them a brief answer. Mohammed tells us that he's a plant engineer, and he asks, does that come with benefits if I'm going forward to take the PMP?
Yeah,
So,
okay.
good.
Again, an excellent question. Now, the definition of a project, and the definition of the operations are as follows. Projects has a clear start date and an end date, and it delivers by the end of that end date a unique deliverable or a unique product. So it has to start at a certain point, it has to end at a certain point. Operations, they are ongoing. They don't stop at a certain date because they are important for the sustainment of the business itself. Now, in plants, you have both. You have operations and you have projects. Unlike what many people know, they think that plants and factories, they work on operation only. No, you work also on projects. Imagine that you have an order of, let's assume that you are a traffic signs plant, and you receive an order of, let's say, producing 120 signs within a certain duration of 90 days. That order will be treated like a project. It will have a clear person who's managing it, which he or she will be the project manager. Even if they are not given that title, there will be the project manager with the same assigned duties. And it has to be starting on a certain period of time, and it has to be ending on a certain period of time. So yes, even if you are working in a plant, project management knowledge is very crucial for you, because you might be subjective to many orders that will be treated as projects. So I would definitely also recommend the course to take. But later on, after that course, also you may take courses that are related to engineering management or process management and supply chains.
Okay, thanks, Yemen. So just quickly, a couple more questions. We do have the course scheduled to start for the 12th of March 2022. And question is, what is the fee for this course?
It's being placed on the link, I believe, right? I think.
Yes, yes, it has. So where the charge is $250 for the course. So thanks for the question there. Just a couple to finish off. Raja asks, will there be follow-up short-term courses after the PMP certification to gain the PDUs?
Yeah, definitely. I'm hoping so. Yeah, we're planning to do so. As I said, the next two courses that I'm planning to deliver is well, there are many options. I don't want to limit the things, but the next two courses will be the PSP, which is Planning and Scheduling Professional, for the people who are working in the area of scheduling and construction, and CCP, which stands for Certified Cost Professional. I mean, right now I'm handling the duties of cost manager. So basically, this is an area of expertise that I can also give a good. I believe I can give a good training in it. There are the other courses that that I'm keeping in mind is basically some courses related to sustainability. We are thinking of I'm thinking of the lead GA. I mean, the spectrum is quite wide, so there will be definitely, to answer that question, there will be a good variety of courses that are going to be following up the current course. And at the time being, all of them should be, I mean, the plan for them is to be live, because this is where the interaction, ensures more interaction. It ensures that, any questions that you have, it's being answered on the spot. So this is basically the plan for the time being. But as a start, it's going to be the PMP on the 12th of March.
Okay, so just a couple more. Tarek asks, as I tried to pass PMP many times and I did the course 2 times before, I wasn't able to keep up with the timing of the exam. I tried mock-up exams and I never finished the exam on time. what's your advised mechanism to keep up with time and finish all the questions successfully?
Well, during the training, we will touch this particular topic. We will touch upon it thoroughly, I would say. So there will be techniques that to spot what we call it keywords in the question. Now, some of the people they don't acknowledge the fact that there are keywords in most of the questions in the exam, where it leads you toward knowing the thinking strategies of the person who have written the question. So what he's or what she's asking for, or what they are pointing at. And the second advice, I would say, practice. There will be a lot of practice materials that you need to solve also after finishing the training. You need to solve also on your own to increase your speed. Now you have 180 questions. Just to do quick math, you have 180 questions and you have 3 hours and 50 minutes to finish the exam. So each question should not take from you more than 1 minute to 1.5. This is on average. If a question that takes from me more than 1.5 minutes, what should I do? Well, there is an option in the exam, and this is again, an advanced advice, like in advance. There is an option in the exam itself. They call it mark the question. So if you are unsure what the answer is and you start spending too much time, just pick any answer and move forward. Just pick any answer and move forward and mark it. Click on it, mark for review. Before you go to the break or before you submit all the answers for the final review, there will be an option that tells you review all mark. So you will review the ones that you have marked. In case by the end you have extra 5-10 minutes. But if I don't have 5-10 minutes, well, there is no negative marking in the exam. So any answer that you have answered, if it turned out to be wrong, it will not be affecting your overall score. You will only receive 0 on the question itself. If it turned out to be wrong and you did not have time to review the question.
That's very good advice, Yaman, and I'm sure you will go through more of that in the actual course. Just a follow-up question from Mohammed. He asks, are there any topics related to asset management and productivity in the PMP?
Productivity, yes, definitely. It's under schedule management, and under resource management. There are 2 areas or they call it knowledge area in the PMP, where they ensure that the productivity is well planned and then it's well monitored and controlled throughout the life cycle of the project. Asset management, there is an aspect of asset management again in the PMP exam. If you hear the question, I'm not sure if you are talking about asset management in the sense that the building is finished and now you need to manage that, or the facility is completed, is constructed, and now you need to manage that as a facility, or you're talking within the life cycle of the project. Within the life cycle of the project, yes, there are many knowledge areas and many techniques and many processes that are concerned with that particular aspect. But after the life cycle of the project itself is completed, no, this is not the concern, actually, to be honest, not like the concern of the PMP.
Okay. Right. I think we've covered all our questions now. Yaman, do you have any closing thoughts or anything else you wanted to cover before we wrap up?
No, I enjoyed the webinar, to be honest. It's a good experience, and I thank you for your time. I thank the attendees, the big number of attendees that have showed up, and looking forward to see some of you in the course.
Absolutely, Yaman. I also enjoyed the presentation, so thank you very much for that, for your presentation. And just finally, thank you everyone for joining us today. We obviously appreciate you being here. Please don't forget to register for the upcoming course on the 12th of March, 2022. And please follow us on LinkedIn for any new courses, webinars, general information, etc. So just thank you very much for joining us today, and we will see you next time. So goodbye for now.
Bye-bye.